The Calthurans had always considered themselves masters of the universe. Their empire spanned multiple star systems, where they had encountered myriad species, subjugating and absorbing them into their fold. With advanced technology and an insatiable hunger for resources, they had little regard for planets deemed primitive. So, when they turned their gaze toward Earth, they did so with an air of condescension, believing they could easily dominate this quaint blue planet. Commander Kithra stood on the observation deck of the flagship Vortex, her sharp eyes scanning the rich hues of Earth as it spun beneath them. The swirling blue oceans and green continents glimmered in the starlight, an inviting sight that promised bountiful resources. Her second-in-command, Jorath, shuffled beside her, adjusting his translation device as they prepared for their descent. "This planet is nothing but a breeding ground for lesser life forms," Jorath remarked, his tone laced with disdain. "What could possibly be of value here?" "Lesser life forms? You mean humans?" Kithra chuckled, the sound echoing around the metallic chamber. "They're primitive. Their technology is laughable. We'll extract what we need and leave them to their ignorance." As the vortex began its descent, Kithra couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. It wasn't fear, it was a nagging instinct, something she had learned to respect in her years of command. But she dismissed it. After all, they had faced worse foes and prevailed. On the surface, the inhabitants of Earth were blissfully unaware of the impending storm. Marcus Callahan, a firefighter in the small town of Ashwood, was gearing up for a routine day. The sun bathed the landscape in golden light, and he reveled in the mundane, the smell of freshly cut grass, and the distant laughter of children playing in the park. Yet, for Marcus, this tranquility was deceptive. His past haunted him like a shadow, a wildfire he could never quite extinguish. Having lost a friend in a tragic blaze years earlier, he had dedicated his life to protecting others from the flames that had taken so much from him. Today, he was set to lead a team in a training exercise, nothing too serious, just a drill. "Hey, Marcus," a voice called out, pulling him from his thoughts. It was Tommy, his partner, a brash but good-hearted guy with an infectious smile. "Ready to show the rookies how it's done?" "Always," Marcus replied, forcing a grin. He appreciated Tommy's enthusiasm, but the weight of responsibility loomed large over him. As the morning passed, the team went through the motions, practicing drills and working on their response times. But beneath the surface, the air buzzed with an uneasy energy. No one could quite place it, but the animals in the nearby woods had started acting strangely. Birds flew in erratic patterns, and deer bolted in panic. Nature was on edge. Back aboard the Vortex, Kithra and her crew began their scans of the planet's surface. Initial readings showed abundant resources: water, minerals, and various organic compounds ripe for extraction. Everything was going according to plan. "Deploy the drones to collect samples," Kithra ordered, her confidence restored. She watched as the small crafts zipped from the mothership, darting toward the surface like shooting stars. "We'll begin the extraction process immediately." But as the drones descended, they encountered an unexpected phenomenon. The ground beneath them trembled, a deep rumble echoing through the air. Kithra's expression shifted from one of triumph to confusion. "Status report," she barked. "Unidentified seismic activity detected. It's unlike anything we've encountered before," a technician shouted, her fingers flying across the controls. The screen flickered, displaying the geographic layout of the area. It was then that the first drone began to malfunction, veering off course and spiraling toward a lush green forest. Bring it back, Kithra commanded, but it was too late. The drone collided with the Earth, the impact triggering an explosive reaction. Deep in the heart of Ashwood, Marcus felt the ground quake beneath him. He staggered, instinctively reaching out to steady himself against a fire truck. "What the hell was that?" Tommy shouted, wide-eyed. "I don't know, but it can't be good," Marcus replied, his heart racing. He felt an innate urge to protect his town. "Everyone, back to the station. We need to get ready." As they rushed to the firehouse, sirens began to wail, a cacophony that filled the air. News reports blared from radios, warning of strange seismic activities and unusual weather patterns across the country. Meanwhile, above the atmosphere, Kithra's concern grew as her ship rocked violently from the aftershocks. The drones were malfunctioning, but the readings coming in were staggering. The planet was alive, pulsating with energy that seemed to defy all logical explanations. "Prepare for emergency ascent," Kithra ordered, a rare note of panic creeping into her voice. "We need to regroup and analyze what we're dealing with before we continue." But even as they ascended, Earth was stirring. The mountains rumbled, and from the heart of one such mountain, a plume of smoke began to rise, dark and ominous, heralding a force the Calthorans had grossly underestimated. As Marcus gathered his team, the situation escalated. He had seen fire before, but this felt different, alive, almost sentient. It stirred within him a sense of duty that drove him forward, even as fear clawed at the edges of his mind. "Listen up," he shouted, commanding attention. "We've got fires breaking out all over the region. We don't know what caused it, but it's serious. Let's get our gear and head out." Little did Marcus know, the Calthorans were learning a lesson about Earth, and its inhabitants, a lesson that would change everything they thought they knew. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge not only their beliefs, but the very fabric of their existence. The ground rumbled again, a prelude to the chaos that awaited them all. The chaos began to unfold almost immediately. As Marcus and his team rushed out of the firehouse, the ground trembled once more, this time with an intensity that knocked them off their feet. Dust and debris filled the air, swirling around like a tempest. Marcus instinctively shielded his eyes, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Get to the trucks. We need to mobilize now," he shouted, urgency lacing his voice. Tommy, ever the eager one, sprinted ahead, flinging open the doors of the nearest fire truck. "I'll drive. Let's show these flames who's boss." The rest of the team piled into the vehicles, each man bracing for the unexpected. The air was thick with tension as Marcus took his seat, hands gripping the dashboard. The radio crackled to life, dispatching alerts about multiple fire outbreaks across Ashwood and beyond. "Central to all units, we have a wildfire near the old quarry. Reports of lightning strikes and possible explosions in the area." The dispatcher's voice echoed, heavy with urgency. "Copy that. Central, we're on our way," Marcus replied, adrenaline coursing through him. He could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, a familiar pressure that fueled his determination. As they raced toward the quarry, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't just the fires, it was the air itself, charged with an energy he had never experienced. It felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. Meanwhile, aboard the Vortex, Kithra was reeling from the catastrophic turn of events. The seismic readings were off the charts, and she could see the chaos unfolding below through the ship's observation windows. The lush forests that had once seemed inviting were now engulfed in flames, smoke billowing into the atmosphere. "Activate the shielding. We need to stabilize the ship," she ordered, her voice steady despite the turmoil around her. Joreth struggled with the controls, his face flushed with anxiety. "Commander, we can't stabilize until we understand what's happening. The drones are still reporting anomalies." Kithra's frustration boiled beneath the surface. She had underestimated Earth and its inhabitants, but she wouldn't let panic take hold. "Send a team to the surface. We need to gather data directly. If we can understand the cause of this chaos, we might still salvage our mission." As Marcus arrived at the quarry, the sight was overwhelming. Flames danced like wild spirits, consuming everything in their path. The heat radiated toward him, waves of scorching air making it hard to breathe. "Set up a perimeter," Marcus shouted. "We need to contain this before it spreads to the nearby houses." The team sprang into action, grabbing hoses and gear as they prepared to battle the inferno. But as they fought against the encroaching fire, Marcus couldn't help but notice something strange. The flames seemed almost sentient, shifting and lunging in ways that defied logic. "Watch yourselves," Tommy yelled, trying to direct a stream of water at a particularly aggressive blaze. "These flames are insane." "Keep focused," Marcus barked, his eyes darting around, searching for the source of the danger. And then he saw a plume of smoke rising from the heart of the quarry, dark and thick. It billowed into the sky like a living creature, consuming everything in its vicinity. "Tommy, take the left flank. I'm going to investigate that smoke," Marcus shouted, his heart racing. "Are you crazy? That's where the fire's coming from," Tommy protested, but Marcus was already sprinting toward the ominous cloud. On the vortex, Kithra's team prepared to descend to the surface. The urgency of the situation gnawed at her, the weight of her choices pressing down. As they geared up, she felt the familiar thrum of her tactical instincts kicking in. "Prepare the shuttle for deployment," she ordered, glancing at her crew. "We need to move quickly before this gets worse." The shuttle launched from the mothership, piercing through the atmosphere with a roar. Kithra strapped herself in, determination etched across her face. "We'll gather intel and return with a plan," she said to her team. "We must discover the truth behind these fires before it's too late." Marcus found himself closer to the source of the smoke, the flames crackling and roaring around him. He could feel the heat licking at his skin, but his resolve pushed him forward. As he neared the center of the plume, he stumbled upon a sight that made his heart drop. There, amidst the fire, lay a massive crater-charred earth and molten rock glistening in the chaos. The ground itself seemed to breathe, exhaling clouds of ash and heat, and at the center of the crater, a strange object glinted, reflecting the flames around it. "What the hell?" Marcus muttered, inching closer. The air felt charged, and he could sense something otherworldly about the object. Suddenly, a tremor rippled through the ground, and the flames surged, pushing him back. He barely managed to regain his footing, heart racing as he struggled to understand what he was witnessing. Back aboard the shuttle, Kithra and her team approached the landing zone near the quarry. The sight that greeted them was catastrophic flames raging like a tempest, casting eerie shadows against the night sky. "Commander, we need to proceed with caution," one of her officers warned, peering out the window. "This is unlike any planetary event we've seen." "Caution won't get us answers," Kithra replied, determination fueling her actions. "Deploy the data drones. We need to collect readings before it gets any worse." The shuttle touched down with a jarring thud, and the team quickly disembarked, preparing for the unknown. Kithra felt the weight of their mission pressing down, but she had no intention of turning back. As Marcus stood at the edge of the crater, he noticed movement in the flames. It was subtle at first, a flicker of light that caught his attention. The strange object began to pulse, glowing brighter and brighter, as if responding to the chaos around it. "Get back," he shouted, feeling an instinctive need to warn his team, but it was too late. The ground erupted beneath him, sending shockwaves of heat and debris flying into the air. He barely had time to react as the world around him exploded in a fury of fire and ash, and for a moment he was enveloped in darkness. Kithra's team witnessed the explosion from a distance, a violent eruption that sent debris skyward like a violent firework display. "Commander, we need to get back," Joreth shouted, fear evident in his voice. "Whatever that was, it's too powerful." But Kithra stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the chaos. This was their opportunity to understand the planet, to uncover the truth behind Earth's hidden power. "Stay focused," she commanded, determination surging through her. "We're not backing down now. We need to find that source." The landscape was changing rapidly, but Kithra was resolute. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. With the echoes of the explosion fading, Marcus regained his senses. He lay on the ground, disoriented but alive. As he pushed himself up, he glanced around, panic gripping him as he realized he was alone. "Tommy," he shouted, voice hoarse. But the only response was the crackling of fire and the distant roar of chaos. He stumbled to his feet, determination taking over as he surveyed the devastation. The crater loomed ominously before him, the pulsing light dimming but still present. Whatever power it held, He needed to find it before it was too late. Marcus's heart raced as he navigated through the wreckage left by the explosion. The once familiar landscape had transformed into a hellish scene. Ash settled like snow on his shoulders, and the air was thick with smoke, making it difficult to breathe. He pressed on, calling out for his team, but all he heard was the crackle of flames and the distant rumble of collapsing trees. "Think, Marcus, think," he muttered to himself. He couldn't let fear cloud his judgment. He had to regroup, find his team, and understand what they were up against. The glowing object in the crater pulsed ominously, beckoning him closer. Whatever it was, it felt important, and he couldn't shake the feeling that it might hold the key to stopping the chaos. He made his way toward the edge of the crater, careful not to slip on the loose rubble. The light from the object flickered, casting strange shadows across the ground. He leaned closer, squinting through the haze of smoke, and his breath caught in his throat. The object was unlike anything he had ever seen, a metallic sphere covered in intricate, glowing patterns that seemed to pulse with life. It hummed softly, resonating in a way that sent vibrations through the ground. "What are you?" Marcus whispered, as if the object could answer him. He reached out tentatively, the heat from the crater pushing against him. As his fingers brushed the surface, a shockwave of energy surged through him, and the world around him shifted. Visions flickered in his mind, images of ancient beings, fiery landscapes, and a powerful force that could destroy or create. Meanwhile, Keithra and her team were moving cautiously through the underbrush, scanning for any signs of the source of the explosion. The forest was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos they had witnessed from above. Keithra felt the weight of her decisions pressing down, and every instinct told her to retreat. Yet curiosity and duty propelled her forward. "Commander, readings are fluctuating wildly," Joreth reported, his voice tense. "We need to regroup and analyze before we proceed." Keithra shook her head. "We came here to understand Earth, not back away from it. If this planet is capable of such destruction, it might also hold untapped potential. We have to find out what that explosion was." Just then, a loud crack echoed through the trees, followed by a distant rumble that shook the ground beneath them. Keithra felt a thrill of fear, but also determination. They were in uncharted territory, and the stakes were higher than ever. "Keep moving. We're getting closer," she urged, her voice firm. They forged ahead, driven by the same compulsion that had brought them to this planet. Marcus staggered back from the sphere, the energy coursing through him, leaving him breathless. The visions had felt real, tangible, like glimpses into another world. He shook his head, trying to clear his mind. He had to focus. The heat from the crater was unbearable, but he felt drawn to the object. Suddenly, the ground beneath him quaked again, and he stumbled, narrowly avoiding a massive boulder that tumbled into the crater. "What is happening?" he thought, panic bubbling in his chest. He could feel the earth shifting, as if responding to the sphere's energy. It was alive, a part of something greater. Marcus turned to scan the area, his instincts sharpening. He needed to find his team, but he also had to ensure that whatever this object was didn't pose a threat to them or to the planet. He took one last look at the sphere, now glowing even brighter, and then bolted back toward where he had last seen Tame and the others. Keithra's team continued deeper into the forest, the atmosphere growing heavier with tension. The remnants of the explosion were still fresh in their minds, and they could feel the vibrations of the ground beneath their feet. "Commander, look!" one of the officers shouted, pointing ahead. The trees parted to reveal the quarry, now a smoldering crater. At the center, a faint light pulsed, a beacon in the midst of chaos. "That's it!" Keithra exclaimed, her heart racing. "Prepare the drones for immediate deployment. We need to gather readings now." As the drones flew toward the glowing object, Keithra's heart raced with anticipation. This was their chance to uncover the truth about Earth. The drones captured data, sending streams of information back to the ship. But something was off. Each reading was more erratic than the last, suggesting that the sphere was affecting the surrounding environment. "Something is generating a massive energy signature," Joreth warned. "We should proceed with caution." The readings indicate a potential destabilization of the area. Kithra tightened her grip on her weapon. Caution is important, but so is knowledge. We need to learn what we're dealing with before it's too late. As Marcus sprinted through the forest, he heard voices ahead. Relief flooded over him. He pushed through the underbrush, emerging onto a ridge overlooking the quarry. There, he spotted his team Tommy, and the others were assessing the damage, their faces etched with concern. "Marcus," Tommy called out, rushing toward him. "We thought we lost you. What the hell is going on?" "Have you seen the sphere?" Marcus asked, urgency in his voice. I don't know how to explain it, but it's powerful. I think it's connected to the fires." "What fires?" Tommy replied, brows furrowing. "The flames, they're alive. This whole situation is escalating, and I think that sphere might be the key to stopping it." Before Tommy could respond, another tremor shook the ground, sending them both to their knees. Marcus looked up in time to see a stream of fire burst from the crater, shooting into the sky like a blazing comet. The flames danced dangerously close to their position, and instinct kicked in. "Everyone, get back!" Marcus shouted, his voice booming over the roar of the flames. "We need to regroup." The team scrambled to their feet, moving away from the raging fire that seemed to reach for them with a life of its own. Kithra and her team observed from a distance, the scene unfolding before them like a twisted play. The sphere was releasing waves of energy, creating a maelstrom of heat and light. Kithra's heart raced as she realized the danger the humans faced. "Commander, we need to intervene. They'll be caught in the crossfire," one of the officers urged, panic rising in his voice. Kithra nodded, determination etching her features. "Prepare to assist them. They might be our only chance to uncover the truth behind this phenomenon." As they moved toward the edge of the crater, Kithra felt a mix of trepidation and excitement. They were on the brink of something monumental, a convergence of human resilience and alien technology. "Stay back," Marcus shouted as they retreated further from the edge of the crater, the flames licking at their heels. "We need to find a way to contain this before it spreads." "What do we do?" Tommy asked, his face pale. "I don't know yet," Marcus admitted, glancing back toward the glowing sphere. The energy radiating from it was unlike anything he had encountered. It felt alive, pulsing with raw power. Suddenly, they heard a mechanical whirring in the distance. "What's that noise?" Tommy asked, squinting into the smoke. Before Marcus could answer, a group of figures emerged from the haze, alien beings, their forms cloaked in shimmering armor. They moved with an otherworldly grace, their eyes locked onto the glowing sphere. "What are they?" one of Marcus's teammates gasped, terror mingling with awe. "I don't know," Marcus breathed, heart pounding. "But we can't let them get to it." Kithra and her team approached cautiously, weapons drawn, but at the ready. They could see the humans nearby, their faces a mix of confusion and fear. "Stay calm," Kithra shouted, hoping to diffuse the tension. "We're here to help." The humans turned, surprise etched across their faces. Kithra recognized Marcus, the determined firefighter she had seen in the data readings. She stepped forward, weapon lowered, trying to convey a sense of peace. "Listen to me. That object is dangerous. We need to work together to contain it before it escalates further." Marcus blinked, processing her words. You're not here to attack us." "No," Kithra insisted. "We are here to understand, just like you. We need to neutralize the threat." Tommy stepped forward, a mix of skepticism and curiosity. "How do we know you're not the cause of this?" "Because I've seen the readings. The sphere is unstable, and its energy is affecting everything around it," Kithra explained, urgency filling her voice. "We can contain it, but we have to act fast." The ground trembled again, and flames erupted, forcing them all to retreat. "All right, we'll listen," Marcus said, resolute. "But we're doing this together." Kithra nodded, feeling a surge of hope. This was their chance to bridge the gap between their world's humanity and the Calthurans, united against a common threat. As the flames roared around them, they gathered their courage, preparing for the battle that lay ahead. The flames roared around them, casting eerie shadows against the charred landscape. Marcus felt a mix of urgency and adrenaline coursing through him as he took stock of the situation. Kithra, the alien commander, stood beside him, her features illuminated by the flickering light. "Let's move," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to reach that sphere before it destabilizes completely." Tommy glanced nervously at Marcus. "You really think they can help us?" "They seem to know what they're talking about," Marcus replied, his eyes darting between the advancing flames and the glowing sphere at the crater's center. "But we need to be quick. This fire is out of control." The group moved in unison, a motley alliance of humans and Calthorans. As they neared the crater, the heat intensified, waves of scorching air rippling around them. The ground trembled again, and with it came a deep rumble from the sphere, a warning that sent a chill down Marcus's spine. "Focus," Kithra commanded, her voice steady. "Marcus, do you have any fire suppression equipment with you?" "Yeah, in my pack," he replied, his mind racing. He was a firefighter. He had trained for situations like this, albeit against conventional blazes, not ancient, volcanic powers. "Good. Get it ready." "Jorath, help him," Kithra directed, and Jorath rushed to Marcus's side. They quickly dug through Marcus's gear, pulling out the fire suppression foam and hoses. "How do you plan to use this on that?" Jorath asked, pointing to the pulsing sphere. "Not the sphere," Marcus replied. "We need to create a barrier around it, stop the fire from spreading further. If we can protect it, maybe we can contain the energy it's releasing." "Are you sure that will work?" Kithra pressed, her tone grave. "We don't have many options," Marcus snapped, feeling the pressure of their situation. "It's either that or let it consume everything around us." With a nod of agreement, Kithra and Jorath assisted Marcus as they set up the equipment. They moved swiftly, every second counting as the flames crackled closer. As they worked, Kithra's thoughts raced. This was not how she had envisioned their mission on Earth. They had come seeking resources, but now they were on the brink of disaster, caught in a conflict that forced them to reconsider their approach. The humans were not the primitive beings she had assumed. They were resilient and resourceful, willing to stand against overwhelming odds. "Jorath, do you see that?" She pointed toward a fissure in the ground, where molten rock bubbled beneath the surface. "We need to watch for lava flows. If those breach the surface, it will escalate the situation." "Understood," Jorath replied, eyes narrowed in concentration. Marcus worked frantically, spraying foam to create a protective barrier against the flames. Each burst of foam quelled the fire momentarily, allowing them a small respite. But the heat was relentless, and the fire seemed to grow angrier as they pushed back. "Keep it up," Kithra shouted, her heart racing. "We're almost there." Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the forest, shaking the very ground they stood on. Marcus looked up, horrified, as a massive plume of ash and smoke erupted from the crater, obscuring the sky. It was as if the earth itself was retaliating against their interference. "Get down," Marcus yelled, diving behind a boulder as debris rained down. He pulled Jorath and Kithra with him, the three of them huddling together as the ground trembled beneath them. "What the hell is happening?" Tommy shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "The sphere must be reacting to the energy fluctuations," Kithra gasped, scrambling to her feet. "We need to stabilize it now." Marcus stood, determination flooding through him. "We need to push closer. We can't let it win." With renewed urgency, they moved as one unit, weaving through the debris and flames. The sphere pulsed ominously, casting an otherworldly glow that flickered against the backdrop of destruction. As they reached the crater's edge, Marcus felt a rush of heat as waves of energy radiated from the sphere. He took a deep breath, steeling himself against the oppressive force. "On my count, we douse it with everything we have," he declared, glancing at Kithra and Jorath. 1, 2, 3. They unleashed a torrent of foam at the sphere, and for a moment, it felt as if time had frozen. The foam collided with the glowing surface, and a shockwave of energy rippled outward, knocking them all back. Marcus hit the ground hard, vision spinning as he struggled to regain his footing. He saw the sphere flicker, its glow dimming momentarily before flaring back to life, brighter and more intense than before. "It didn't work," Joreth exclaimed, his voice laced with panic. "Reform the barrier," Kithra shouted, scrambling back to her feet. "We have to contain this energy." As they regrouped, Marcus felt a spark of inspiration igniting within him. "What if we redirect the energy?" he suggested, recalling the visions from before. "There was something ancient about it, maybe it can be harnessed." "What do you mean?" Kithra asked, brows furrowed. "The sphere might be reacting to us, to the fire. If we can channel its energy away from the flames, we can stabilize it." Kithra's eyes widened. "It's risky, but if we don't do something, this whole area will be lost." "Exactly," Marcus replied, adrenaline surging through him. "We need to synchronize our efforts. I'll focus on the fire, while you two manage the sphere. If we can create a link between us, maybe we can draw the energy away." With a determined nod, Kithra and Joreth positioned themselves on either side of the sphere, ready to harness its power. Marcus took a deep breath, centering himself. He was a firefighter, he knew how to control flames. "Now," he shouted, his voice carrying over the chaos. They focused their energy, their minds connecting as they reached toward the sphere. Marcus visualized the fire being drawn into the glowing orb, envisioning a barrier forming around the flames, containing them. A sudden surge of energy shot through them, and the ground shook violently. The flames began to withdraw, coiling back from the sphere, merging with its glow. The air crackled with electricity, and Marcus felt an overwhelming rush of power surge through him. "It's working," Kithra shouted, her voice filled with disbelief. "Keep it steady." Marcus gritted his teeth, pushing back against the intensity of the energy. It was a battle of wills, but he could feel the spirit of the earth beneath him, guiding him. "Stay with me," he called out, focusing all his thoughts on containing the flames, drawing them away from the forest. The sphere pulsed rhythmically, and they could hear the sound of the earth settling around them. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the sphere, and they were all thrown backward as an immense wave of energy enveloped the crater. It felt as if the very fabric of reality was shifting around them. Marcus landed hard, the world spinning. When he finally blinked his eyes open, he gasped. The crater was transformed. The flames that had threatened to consume everything were now a soft glow, swirling peacefully around the sphere, which pulsed gently as if it had finally found its balance. "Did we do it?" Joreth asked, awe evident in his voice. "I think so," Kithra replied, standing slowly. "But we need to be cautious. This power is still volatile." Marcus climbed to his feet, heart racing as he gazed at the glowing sphere. "It's beautiful," he whispered, the raw energy radiating warmth rather than destruction. But before they could celebrate their victory, a rumble reverberated through the ground once more, and a new danger emerged from the shadows of the trees. Dark figures appeared at the edge of the clearing, their intentions unclear but menacing. "What now?" Tame hissed, stepping closer to Marcus. "Stay together," Marcus urged, adrenaline surging once more. "We're not out of this yet." The Calthorans stood beside him, their eyes narrowed, weapons at the ready. The figures moved closer, and Marcus braced himself for whatever would come next. The shadows coalesced into a group of figures, their forms indistinct against the flickering light of the sphere. Marcus squinted, trying to make out their features, but all he could see were silhouettes. They moved with a predator's grace, their eyes gleaming like coals in the dark. "What are they?" Joreth whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "Not sure, but they don't look friendly," Marcus replied, heart pounding as he instinctively reached for his firefighting axe, the weight familiar and reassuring in his hands. "Stay alert," Kithra ordered, stepping in front of them, her alien weapon drawn and at the ready. "We don't know their intentions." The figures advanced, the light from the sphere illuminating them gradually. Marcus's eyes widened as he recognized their forms. They were human, but not like him or Tommy. Their skin was charred and ashen, and their eyes held an unnatural glint, flickering between fear and hostility. "They look burned," Tommy said, a tremor in his voice. "They are," Keithra said, her voice steady despite the unsettling sight. "This is no ordinary group. They must be survivors from the initial eruptions, those who couldn't escape the flames." The leader of the group stepped forward, a gaunt man with eyes full of rage and desperation. "What have you done?" he shouted, voice raw and strained. "You've awakened the beast beneath our feet." "We were trying to contain it," Marcus protested, taking a cautious step forward. "We didn't know this would happen. We're trying to help." "Help?" the leader spat, his voice dripping with bitterness. "You've brought only more destruction. The fires rage because of you." He gestured toward the remnants of the forest, still smoldering in the aftermath of the volcanic upheaval. "We didn't mean for this to happen," Jorath added, stepping beside Marcus. "We're trying to find a solution, but we need your help. This power is beyond all of us." The leader sneered, shaking his head. "You think you can control it? You're just as foolish as the Caltherans who thought this planet was tame." Marcus felt a flare of anger at the accusation. "We're not your enemy. We're trying to prevent further catastrophe." The leader's gaze shifted, studying Marcus, Jorath, and Keithra with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "Then why did you not heed the warnings? Why did you venture here?" "Because we believed we could do something," Marcus replied, his voice steady. "We saw an opportunity to save this land from devastation, but it requires teamwork, understanding, and alliance." The tension in the air thickened, and for a moment, it felt as if the world around them held its breath. The leader's hardened expression faltered slightly, revealing a flicker of uncertainty. "You want an alliance?" he asked, his tone still skeptical. "With Caltherans, with the ones who brought this upon us." "Not all Caltherans wish to exploit this planet," Keithra interjected, stepping forward. "Some of us see the value in protecting it, in learning from it." The leader regarded her with contempt, but there was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "And what will you do when the volcano erupts again? When the fire spreads and consumes everything?" "We'll find a way to harness that power," Marcus asserted, hope kindling in his chest. "We can learn from the earth, from its raw energy. Together, we can forge a new path forward." The man glanced back at his group, then returned his gaze to Marcus, weighing the options. Finally, he sighed, the anger in his posture wavering. "You're asking for a lot. We've lost everything to the flames. Trust doesn't come easy." "We know," Marcus replied, feeling a pang of empathy. "But we're offering you a chance to fight back against the destruction. If we work together, we might just stand a chance." As the leader contemplated, the air crackled with anticipation. The sphere pulsated rhythmically, a reminder of the volatile power they all faced together. Finally, the leader nodded slowly. "Fine, I'll give you this chance. But know that I will be watching you closely. If you fail—" "I understand," Marcus interrupted, determination etched across his features. "We won't let you down." The man turned and gestured for his group to follow. "We'll work together, but trust is earned, not given." As the tension dissipated, Marcus felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this was the turning point they needed. The team quickly regrouped, forming a plan to stabilize the sphere and the land around it. They would need the collective strength of humans and Caltherans, combining their knowledge and resources. "Let's find a way to communicate with the sphere," Jorath suggested, scanning the glowing mass. "It's reacting to our presence. Maybe it can hear us." "Agreed," Keithra said. "But we need to be careful. This energy is unpredictable." Marcus stepped closer to the sphere, feeling the warmth radiating from it. "I think it's alive," he murmured. "There's a rhythm to it, like it's breathing." "Breathing?" Tommy asked, confusion evident in his voice. "Yeah," Marcus replied, his thoughts racing. "It feels connected to the earth, like it's part of a greater whole. If we can tap into that connection, we might understand its needs." The leader of the survivors nodded. "We can try, but we must be prepared for whatever happens." As night fell over the crater, the glow of the sphere illuminated their surroundings, casting a soft light against the darkened sky. They gathered in a circle around it, hearts pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. "Focus your thoughts on the sphere," Marcus instructed, taking a deep breath. "Feel the energy around you, the power it holds. If we concentrate, we might be able to communicate with it." They all closed their eyes, centering their minds as Marcus guided them through the process. He felt the warmth of the energy pooling around them, surging like a heartbeat. "Open your minds," he said softly. "Let the energy flow through you." As they connected their thoughts, the sphere pulsed brighter, and Marcus felt a surge of information flood his senses. It was overwhelming: the cries of the earth, the pain of its wounds, the ancient wisdom buried deep beneath layers of rock and ash. "Can you feel it?" Kithra whispered, eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," Marcus replied, tears stinging his eyes. "It wants to heal. It needs our help." Suddenly, the ground trembled violently, and the sphere flickered as if it was responding to their thoughts. An intense heat radiated from it, and the connection they had formed began to warp. "Stay focused," Joreth shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Don't lose it." Marcus gritted his teeth, fighting against the overwhelming energy. "We have to keep it steady. We can't let it break free." Just as they felt the energy threatening to tear apart, a wave of force shot through them, and the sphere erupted in a burst of light, enveloping them in warmth. Marcus gasped as visions flooded his mind, pictures of the Earth's past, its beauty, its power, and its potential for destruction. He could feel the spirit of the planet reaching out to him, imploring them for help. "We can't give up," Marcus shouted, feeling a surge of determination. "We are its guardians now." With renewed resolve, the group focused all their energy into the sphere, channeling their thoughts and hopes for a better future. The light enveloped them, and as they surrendered to the energy, Marcus felt a bond form between them and the earth. The sphere pulsed in harmony with their hearts, a living entity resonating with their determination. "We can do this," Tame cried, voice ringing out with newfound strength. As the connection deepened, the world around them began to change. The chaos subsided, the fires began to cool, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh earth, a sign that healing was beginning. "Look!" Kithra shouted, pointing at the sphere. The surface shimmered with vibrant colors, displaying swirling patterns that danced like flames. It was as if the earth was awakening, responding to their pleas for unity. But just as hope surged within them, a darker shadow loomed over their newfound alliance. The leader of the survivors stepped forward, his face twisted with determination. "This is our chance," he said, voice firm. "We must harness this power before it is too late." The other survivors nodded in agreement, and Marcus realized that their intentions were shifting. They were no longer focused solely on survival. They wanted to control the power of the sphere, to claim it for their own. "Wait!" Marcus shouted, alarm bells ringing in his mind. "This isn't what we agreed on. We're not here to conquer the earth. We're here to protect it." The leader's expression hardened. "You think we can afford to let this slip away? This is our moment to reclaim our home." Marcus stepped forward, fear coursing through him. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. If you try to control it, you'll unleash its wrath." The sphere pulsed, reflecting the tension brewing among them. In that moment, Marcus realized that their alliance was fragile, teetering on the brink of chaos. The true test of their unity was just beginning, and the fate of the earth rested in their hands. "Together," he called, desperation in his voice. "We must face this as one. We cannot let fear drive us apart." But the leader of the survivors glared back, caught between his thirst for power and the hope Marcus offered. As the flames flickered and the sphere pulsed with energy, the line between salvation and destruction began to blur. The air crackled with tension, the pulsating light of the sphere casting eerie shadows across the group. Marcus stood at the forefront, his heart racing as he confronted the leader of the survivors, who now appeared torn between desperation and ambition. "Listen to me," Marcus urged, voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling around them. We have a chance to learn from this power. If we treat the Earth as a resource to be exploited, we will unleash chaos that none of us can control. The leader's expression flickered, wavering between defiance and realization. And what do you suggest? We simply wait and hope the Earth doesn't decide to consume us next. We've suffered enough. We can't afford to be passive. We have to adapt, Jorath interjected, stepping beside Marcus. But not by force. The power of this sphere is meant to protect, not to destroy. We have to show it that we respect it. The leader sneered, but Marcus caught a glimpse of hesitation in his eyes. And how do you propose we do that? By working together, Kithra replied, her voice firm yet calm. We need to find a way to stabilize the energy, to communicate with it and understand its needs. It can help us, but only if we respect it as part of this planet. Respect? The leader scoffed. It's just a ball of energy. It doesn't care about our feelings. But it does care about the balance of nature, Marcus countered. It responds to our actions. We can either feed its anger or nurture its potential. The leader fell silent, the words hanging heavy in the air. Around them, the other survivors shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. Fine, the leader relented at last, though his voice dripped with reluctance. Let's say I entertain this idea. What's your plan? Marcus took a deep breath, seizing the moment. We need to create a network, a bond between us and the sphere. If we can channel our collective thoughts and intentions, we might be able to stabilize it and keep the destructive energy at bay. Tame, stepping forward, added, we can gather everyone's survivors, Calthurans, anyone willing to help. We can form a circle around the sphere and combine our focus. The leader considered this, the tension in his shoulders slowly easing. It could work, but I won't tolerate failure. If this doesn't yield results, I'll take matters into my own hands. Marcus nodded, a sense of urgency propelling him forward. Understood, but let's focus on unity first. We have to show the Earth that we're here to work with it, not against it. With the plan in motion, the group quickly began organizing the survivors. They gathered in a loose circle around the sphere, each person visibly apprehensive, yet intrigued by the idea of channeling their thoughts into the pulsing energy. Marcus positioned himself at the forefront, flanked by Jorath and Kithra. As the survivors assembled, he could sense the mix of skepticism and hope emanating from the crowd. Everyone, listen, Marcus called out, raising his voice to be heard over the murmurs. We are about to do something unprecedented. We're going to connect with the Earth, with the power of this sphere. It may seem daunting, but together, we can make a difference. A few members of the group exchanged uncertain glances, but as Marcus continued, the air crackled with anticipation. The Earth has suffered enough. It's time we show it our intentions are pure. Focus on your connection to this land, on your hopes for the future. Trust in one another, and we will channel that trust into this sphere. As they joined hands, Marcus felt a surge of energy ripple through them, a collective pulse that resonated with the very ground beneath their feet. Close your eyes, he instructed, feeling the warmth of the sphere grow. Picture the Earth as it should be, lush, thriving, in harmony. Let that vision guide us. The sphere pulsed in response, the light shifting from a harsh glare to a soothing glow, as if responding to their collective intentions. Feel the energy, Kithra said softly, her voice almost a whisper. It's alive. It knows our pain and our desires. Marcus concentrated, feeling the connection deepen. He envisioned the Earth, wild and free, bursting with life. The trees swayed in the breeze, the rivers flowed unimpeded, and the mountains stood strong against the sky. Let the Earth know we care, he urged, channeling his energy into the connection. Let it feel our resolve. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them, and a low rumble echoed through the air. The survivors gasped, their eyes snapping open. The sphere flickered, the light pulsing violently as the energy surged within. What's happening? Tommy shouted, fear creeping into his voice. Hold on, Jorath cried, gripping Marcus's hand tightly. The leader of the survivors took a step back, anxiety washing over his features. "This isn't what we wanted. We're losing control." "No," Marcus shouted, grounding himself. "Stay connected. We can't let fear break our bond." As the energy surged, visions flooded Marcus's mind once more. He saw the volcanoes awakening, the fury of nature unleashed, but amidst that chaos, he also glimpsed moments of beauty, the first flowers blooming after a storm, the sun rising over a tranquil lake. "Focus on the balance," he urged, channeling that vision into the sphere. "We can guide it." The others followed suit, their intentions coalescing into a single heartbeat. The sphere pulsed wildly at first, but slowly the chaos began to settle, shifting from a chaotic storm to a gentle wave. "We're getting through," Keithra shouted, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "It's responding." As the tension eased, the sphere's light grew softer, the violent energy calming into a rhythmic pulse. The ground beneath them stabilized, and the air filled with a palpable sense of peace. "We did it," Tommy exclaimed, relief washing over his features. "Not yet," Marcus cautioned, still aware of the volatility that lurked beneath the surface. "This is just the beginning." The leader stepped forward, a mix of disbelief and admiration etched across his face. You actually connected with it." "Yes," Marcus replied, breathing heavily. "But we need to maintain this bond. We must protect it." Suddenly, a new voice cut through the atmosphere, sharp and commanding. "What is this? You've awakened the energy of the earth, and you dare to meddle with it." The group turned to see a Caltheran figure approaching, the colors of its skin shimmering ominously in the dim light. Grix emerged from the shadows, his expression a blend of frustration and astonishment. "What have you done?" he demanded, glancing between Marcus and the sphere. "This power is not to be trifled with." "We know that," Marcus replied, feeling the weight of Grix's gaze. "We're trying to stabilize it, to find a way to coexist with the energy." Grix shook his head, disbelief etched across his features. "You think you can control it? You've only just begun to understand the forces at play." "Then help us," Jorath pleaded, stepping forward. "If you know more about this power, we need your knowledge. We can't face this alone." Grix hesitated, his expression softening. "You don't comprehend the risks involved. The earth will not bend to your will. It is a living entity, unstoppable, primal." "We're not trying to control it," Marcus interjected. "We want to protect it, to learn from it. But we need your help to navigate this." Grix studied him for a long moment, as if weighing the fate of their alliance. Finally, he sighed, the tension easing from his shoulders. "Very well. But if we are to do this, we must do it carefully. The balance must be maintained at all costs." With Grix's support, the group began to formulate a new plan. They would expand their circle, inviting both Caltherans and humans to unite their energies and intentions. "Together," Marcus emphasized, "we can forge a new bond with the earth, a true alliance that respects its power." As the night wore on, they gathered around the sphere once more, their hands interlocked, hearts beating as one. With Grix's guidance, they focused on the ancient energy, ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. The world outside remained restless, but within their circle, a flicker of hope ignited. They were not merely survivors anymore. They were guardians of a planet that demanded respect and understanding. Glowing energy. The crystal towered above them, its surface shimmering with iridescent colors that shifted and danced in the flickering light of the lava pool. It seemed alive, a living embodiment of the Earth's wrath, resonating with the power of the planet itself. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine as he gazed at the crystal. "What is that thing?" he whispered, unable to tear his eyes away from its mesmerizing glow. "That is the heart of the Earth's instability," Grix explained, stepping closer to the edge of the lava pool. "The energy from the sphere awakened it, and now it is reacting violently to the disturbance." Jorath frowned, his expression darkening. "So, what do we do? Just poke it and hope for the best?" "No," Grix said sharply. "We need to neutralize its energy. It's emitting waves of power that are disrupting the tectonic plates." If we don't stop it, we'll trigger a cataclysm. Tommy stared at the crystal, his eyes wide with disbelief. And how do we do that? It looks like it's alive. Marcus took a step forward, his mind racing. We need to connect with it somehow. Maybe the sphere has some kind of link. Grix nodded, a spark of hope flickering in his eyes. Yes, the sphere acts as a conduit. If we can synchronize our energy with it, we might be able to channel its power and stabilize the crystal. How do we do that? Jorath asked, glancing between Marcus and Grix. Marcus, Grix said, his tone serious, you were able to calm the sphere. You'll need to establish a connection with it and draw on its energy. The rest of us will provide support. Marcus took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. All right, let's do it. They moved closer to the edge of the lava pool, the heat radiating off the molten rock. Grix positioned himself near the sphere, while Jorath and Tommy took their places by Marcus's side. As they formed a circle, Marcus felt the energy in the air shift, a low hum vibrating through his bones. Focus, Grix instructed. Channel your thoughts toward the sphere. Visualize its energy flowing through you. Marcus closed his eyes, blocking out the heat and the chaos around him. He envisioned the sphere's glow, its pulsing rhythm matching the beat of his heart. He concentrated, feeling the energy resonate within him. Suddenly, a surge of warmth enveloped him, and he felt a connection forming a thread of power linking him to the sphere. The energy coursed through him, stronger than anything he had ever felt before. Now, Grix shouted, breaking Marcus's concentration. Direct it toward the crystal. With a burst of determination, Marcus opened his eyes and reached out with his hands, channeling the energy toward the crystal. The air crackled with power as tendrils of light arced from the sphere to the crystal, intertwining in a dazzling display. The crystal responded, its surface vibrating violently. It pulsed with an angry energy, the colors shifting from vibrant hues to dark, ominous shades. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the lava roiled and bubbled, threatening to spill over. Keep going, Jorath urged, his voice strained. We can't stop now. With every ounce of strength, Marcus pushed against the overwhelming force of the crystal. He could feel its raw energy, chaotic and wild, fighting back against his efforts. It's too powerful. Focus, Grix shouted. You must assert control. Remember what you did with the sphere. Taking a deep breath, Marcus recalled the calm he had felt earlier, the serene connection he'd forged with the sphere. He centered himself, letting the chaos around him fade into the background. He focused on the pulse of the earth, the heartbeat of the planet beneath him. Come on, Tommy urged, gripping Marcus's shoulder. You can do this. Drawing strength from his friends, Marcus deepened the connection, allowing the energy to flow freely through him. He reached out further, connecting not only with the sphere, but with the very essence of the earth itself. He could feel its ancient wisdom, the power that lay dormant for centuries, waiting to be unleashed. With a surge of newfound strength, Marcus directed the energy toward the crystal with greater force. It throbbed violently, responding to his command. The colors began to stabilize, the wild fluctuations calming into a steady rhythm. Almost there, Grix shouted, sweat dripping down his brow. You're doing it. As the connection deepened, Marcus felt a strange clarity wash over him. He could see visions, glimpses of the Earth's history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the balance of nature, and the fierce power that lay within the planet. He understood now. The crystal was not just a source of instability. It was a reflection of humanity's own struggles, a reminder of the need for balance. With that understanding came a sense of purpose. He realized that the crystal's power was not inherently destructive. It was merely a manifestation of the Earth's raw energy, untamed and misunderstood. Channel it, Marcus shouted, the words bursting from him with fervor. Channel it into harmony. The others responded, their hands glowing as they joined in. The energy swirled around them, vibrant and alive, as they worked together to guide the crystal's power. Slowly, the colors shifted, moving from the chaotic darkness to a soothing blue light. The vibrations in the air began to subside, and the ground steadied beneath them. "I think it's working," Tommy exclaimed, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Yes, keep it steady," Grix urged, his focus unwavering. The crystal began to pulse gently, the energy stabilizing. The air was thick with tension, but the growing sense of harmony brought hope to Marcus's heart. They were on the brink of achieving the impossible. But just as they thought victory was within reach, the ground shook violently, a deafening roar echoing through the cavern. The crystal erupted with blinding light, and a shockwave sent them sprawling to the ground. "Hold on," Joreth shouted, struggling to regain his footing. As Marcus pushed himself up, he realized the crystal was beginning to fracture, fissures spidering across its surface. "It's breaking apart." Grix shouted over the noise. "We have to reinforce the connection, now." With a surge of determination, Marcus focused once more, drawing on every ounce of energy he had left. The sphere's glow intensified as he pulled the energy toward the crystal, willing it to hold together. "Just a little longer," Tommy yelled, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. "We can do this." They fought against the chaos, struggling to maintain the connection. The ground continued to shake, and the roar of the earth grew louder, threatening to swallow them whole. "Just focus," Marcus shouted, his heart racing. "We can't let it fall apart now." The fissures widened, the crystal shattering with a deafening crack. But Marcus pressed on, refusing to back down. He could feel the earth beneath him, its ancient energy flowing through him, guiding him, urging him to succeed. As he connected deeper, a wave of clarity washed over him. He realized the crystal was not just a vessel of power. It was a testament to the bond between humanity and the earth. They were intertwined, and their fates were forever linked. With a final surge of strength, Marcus directed the energy toward the crystal, channeling it with all the determination he could muster. The light enveloped the cavern, illuminating every crevice and shadow. The energy swirled and danced, converging on the crystal as it began to stabilize, the fractures slowly mending. The roar of the earth subsided, replaced by a soothing hum that reverberated through the cavern. As the last remnants of chaos faded away, the crystal pulsed with a steady rhythm, glowing softly in harmony with the sphere. A wave of relief washed over Marcus as he realized they had done it. They had forged a connection that transcended understanding, a bond that united them with the earth and its ancient power. The cavern fell silent, the air thick with an overwhelming sense of peace. Grix, panting from the effort, looked at Marcus with newfound respect. "You did it. You stabilized the crystal." Marcus couldn't help but smile, exhaustion washing over him. "We did it. All of us." Tommy grinned, still catching his breath. "I can't believe we actually pulled it off." Joreth nodded, a look of pride on his face. "Against all odds, I knew we could do it." But just as they began to celebrate their victory, the ground trembled once more, the vibrations sending a fresh wave of panic through Marcus's chest. "Not again," Tommy shouted, eyes wide with fear. Grix stepped forward, his expression serious. "It's not the crystal. Something else is awakening. We need to get out of here now." Marcus felt a surge of dread as he glanced around the cavern. The once stable environment was shifting again, and he could feel the raw energy beneath the surface stirring. They had awakened something far greater than they had anticipated. "Move!" Grix shouted, sprinting toward the exit. "We have to get to the surface." The group followed, their hearts racing as they raced through the tunnels. The ground beneath them shook violently, and rocks began to tumble from the ceiling. Marcus could hear the distant rumble of something massive stirring deep within the earth, and dread washed over him. They reached the entrance just as the tunnel began to collapse behind them. "Hurry!" Marcus yelled, pushing himself forward. As they emerged into the daylight, the landscape had changed. The mountains trembled, and a cloud of ash and smoke billowed into the sky. The world around them was alive with chaos. "Look!" Joreth shouted, pointing toward the horizon. In the distance, a massive volcanic eruption was unfolding, a plume of ash and fire rising high into the sky. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and Marcus realized they had unleashed something far more powerful than they had imagined. Grix turned to them, urgency etched on his features. "We have to evacuate the area. The eruption will affect everything in its path." "Where do we go?" Tommy shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "Back to the sphere," Grix ordered. "We can use its energy to shield ourselves and warn the others." Marcus nodded, his heart racing. "Let's move. We can't let this go any further." They sprinted back toward the sphere, the ground shaking violently with each step. As they reached it, Marcus could feel the raw power emanating from its surface, a steady pulse that resonated with their hearts. "Get everyone to safety," Marcus shouted to Jorath and Tommy. "We need to harness the sphere's energy." Grix nodded, stepping forward. "We can create a protective barrier, but we must work together." With renewed determination, they gathered around the sphere, the hum of energy filling the air. Marcus closed his eyes, focusing on the connection they had forged. He could feel the sphere's energy coursing through him, urging him to act. "Let's do this," he shouted, and they began to channel the energy, forming a protective barrier around themselves. The world around them shook violently, the eruption growing closer. They could see the lava flowing down the mountainside, and the air filled with ash and debris. "Stay strong," Grix yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We can hold this together." Marcus concentrated, pushing the energy outward. The sphere pulsed with light, creating a shimmering barrier that enveloped them. He could feel the vibrations of the earth beneath him, the power of the eruption threatening to tear them apart. As the eruption reached its peak, the ground beneath them heaved, and a shock wave erupted from the volcano, sending debris flying through the air. But the barrier held strong, a protective shield against the chaos surrounding them. "Keep it steady," Tommy shouted, sweat pouring down his face. Marcus felt the energy shifting, the connection between them growing stronger as they worked together to maintain the barrier. He could see the eruption in all its fury, a testament to the raw power of the earth. "Hold on," Grix shouted, his voice strained. "We're almost there." With one final surge of energy, the barrier intensified, the glow becoming blinding. The eruption raged around them, but within their protective shield, they felt a sense of calm. As the chaos of the eruption continued, Marcus realized the truth. They had awakened the power of the earth, but they had also learned to respect it. They had forged a bond that transcended fear, a partnership between humanity and the planet they called home. When the eruption finally began to subside, the glow of the sphere dimmed, and the chaos faded into silence. Exhausted but triumphant, Marcus and the others emerged from their protective barrier, gazing at the landscape transformed by the eruption. Though the destruction around them was immense, there was a newfound understanding between the Calthurans and the humans. They had faced the wrath of the earth and survived, forever changed by the experience. "Is it over?" Tommy asked, surveying the destruction. Grix nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. "For now. But we must remain vigilant. The balance is fragile, and we must learn to live in harmony with this world." Marcus felt a sense of determination swell within him. "We will. We have to." As the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm light over the landscape, Marcus knew they had a long road ahead. But together, they would face whatever challenges lay before them, united in their mission to protect the earth and each other. In the heart of the chaos, they had found strength and understanding, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, hope could thrive. Together, they would forge a new path, one built on respect, courage, and the unbreakable bond between humanity and the earth. And in that moment, as they stood amidst the remnants of destruction, they realized they were no longer just survivors. They were guardians of the earth, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. In the days following the eruption, the remnants of devastation blanketed the landscape, but amidst the destruction, hope flickered like a flame. The Calthurans and the humans worked side by side to assess the damage and aid those affected. With the volcanic eruption having reshaped their world, they were united by a common purpose: to restore and protect the planet they now understood on a deeper level. Marcus stood atop a rise overlooking the valley, where the remnants of the crystal still pulsed faintly, a reminder of the raw power they had harnessed. The once vibrant landscape was now a tapestry of ash and smoldering earth. But even in the grayness, life was beginning to emerge again. Small green shoots pushed through the scorched soil, defiant against the devastation. "Look at that," Tommy said, joining him on the rise. "It's incredible how life finds a way." "Yeah," Marcus replied, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "It's a testament to the resilience of this planet. And to humanity." "Speaking of humanity," Tommy continued, a grin spreading across his face, "the Calthurans are pretty impressed with what we pulled off. They never expected us to handle a crisis like that." Marcus chuckled, the warmth of camaraderie easing the weight on his shoulders. "I guess we surprised them. They thought we were just another primitive race." "Exactly. They've underestimated us at every turn," Tommy said, his voice filled with excitement. "Now they know we're not to be trifled with." As they stood together, a small group of Calthurans approached. Grix led them, his demeanor more relaxed than Marcus had ever seen. The tensions that had once clouded their interactions were fading, replaced by a budding respect forged in the fires of crisis. "Marcus," Grix called, his voice ringing with sincerity, "we wanted to thank you for your bravery. Your actions saved many lives." Marcus nodded, feeling a flush of pride. "We all worked together. I couldn't have done it without my team." "And yet, you led us through chaos," Grix replied. "Your understanding of the Earth's power is remarkable." "I've learned a lot," Marcus admitted, glancing at the landscape. "This planet has a heartbeat, a spirit. We've only just begun to understand it." As they talked, a Calthuran engineer stepped forward, holding a device that resembled a cross between a tablet and a holographic projector. "We have been analyzing the data collected during the eruption," he explained, his voice a melodic mix of curiosity and urgency. "There is much we can learn from this event. If we can gather more information, we can better understand how to coexist with this world." "What do you need?" Marcus asked, intrigued by the engineer's enthusiasm. "We need to monitor the seismic activity and the remnants of the energy pulse," the Calthuran continued. "We can set up a series of observation points to track the changes and prevent future disasters." "I can help with that," Marcus offered, glancing at Tommy, who nodded in agreement. "We know the terrain better than anyone. We can lead you to the best spots." "Excellent," Grix replied, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. "This collaboration will strengthen our alliance and provide invaluable data." As they set off toward the valley, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just a firefighter. He was part of something greater, an alliance that transcended species. Together, they would forge a new future, one built on respect and understanding. The days turned into weeks as they established observation points throughout the region. The Calthurans brought advanced technology, while Marcus and his team provided local knowledge and expertise. Together, they mapped the land, taking readings and monitoring the seismic activity. During their work, they discovered more about the planet's intricate systems, learning how the Earth's energy resonated with a Calthuran's technology. They were uncovering secrets long buried beneath the surface, gaining insights into the balance of nature that governed their world. One afternoon, as they gathered data at the edge of a newly formed lava field, Grix pointed to the horizon. "Look at that." Marcus squinted, spotting a plume of smoke rising in the distance. "What is it? Another eruption?" "No," Grix said, his voice laced with concern. "That looks like a settlement. We should investigate." Without hesitation, they packed their gear and set off, moving swiftly toward the smoke. As they approached, the outlines of structures emerged, but something was off. The buildings appeared damaged, and the ground was scorched, as if it had been the site of a recent catastrophe. "Keep your guard up," Marcus said, instinctively reaching for his radio. "This could be dangerous." When they reached the settlement, they found it eerily quiet. The streets were littered with debris, and the air was thick with an acrid smell. Marcus and his team exchanged worried glances, their hearts pounding as they cautiously moved through the wreckage. Over there, Tommy pointed to a group of figures huddled beneath a collapsed structure. They were humans, injured and scared, their faces smeared with ash. "Let's help them," Marcus shouted, rushing forward. As they approached, the survivors looked up with a mix of fear and hope. "Who are you?" one of them asked, his voice trembling. "We're here to help," Marcus reassured them, kneeling to assess their injuries. "What happened here?" "We thought it was safe," the survivor explained, shaking with fear. "The Caltherans came, and they—" "Wait, Caltherans?" Grix interrupted, stepping closer. "What do you mean?" "They came down from the sky," the survivor continued, his eyes wide with panic. "At first, we thought they were here to help, but then, they started tearing apart our homes. We didn't know what to do." Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach. "We're not with them. We're here to help you." "They don't care about us," another survivor shouted, anger flooding his voice. "They only want our resources." Grix stepped forward, his expression earnest. "That's not true. We are not all the same. I promise we are here to assist you." "We just need to get you out of here," Marcus said, trying to maintain a sense of calm. "Can you walk?" The survivors nodded, though they seemed hesitant. As Marcus and his team helped them to their feet, the tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. "Come on, we need to get to safety," Tommy urged, glancing nervously at the surrounding destruction. As they moved away from the wreckage, Marcus could sense the fear and distrust emanating from the survivors. They were caught in a cycle of confusion, their perceptions skewed by the chaos that had unfolded. "Listen," Marcus said, turning to the survivors. "We're working with the Caltherans now. We're trying to build a bridge between our worlds, but we can't do it without your trust." "Trust?" One of the survivors scoffed, anger flashing in his eyes. "How can we trust them after what we've seen?" "Because not everyone wants to harm you," Grix interjected. "We are trying to protect this planet, yours and ours. The eruption was a disaster, but it has shown us how intertwined we are." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "We have to learn to work together. Otherwise, we'll face even greater threats." As they continued to navigate the rubble, Marcus felt the tension ease slightly, but the air was thick with uncertainty. He could see the flickers of doubt in the survivors' eyes, and he knew they had a long way to go to earn their trust. Once they reached the safety of their camp, the survivors began to share their stories. They spoke of fear and loss, of homes destroyed and families torn apart. Each story was a thread in the tapestry of their shared experience, revealing the pain and heartache that connected them all. As Marcus listened, he felt a deep sense of empathy for the survivors. They were not so different from him. They were fighting to protect their loved ones, to survive in a world that had turned against them. "We're not your enemies," Marcus said, his voice steady. "We want to help. We can rebuild together." Grix stood beside him, a silent pillar of support. "This planet is our shared home. We must learn from the past and work toward a better future." The survivors exchanged glances, uncertainty lingering in the air. Slowly, one of them stepped forward. "If you really want to help, we'll need supplies, shelter. Our homes are gone." Marcus nodded. "We can provide that. We have resources and technology. Together, we can rebuild." In the days that followed, they worked tirelessly to restore the settlement. The Caltherans shared their advanced technology, while Marcus and the human survivors provided practical knowledge of the land. They collaborated to build temporary shelters and gather supplies, forging a new bond through shared hardship. As they worked, Marcus noticed the shift in the survivors' attitudes. Their distrust began to fade, replaced by a sense of camaraderie. They shared stories, laughter, and tears as they rebuilt their lives, and for the first time since the eruption, hope began to flourish. One evening, as they gathered around a makeshift fire, Marcus felt a sense of unity enveloping them. They were no longer just humans and Caltherans. They were partners, allies fighting for a common cause. "This is what it means to be human," Marcus said, addressing the group. "To adapt, to overcome, and to forge connections. Together, we can create a future where our worlds coexist." A ripple of agreement passed through the crowd. The air was thick with a sense of determination as they sat beneath the stars, the fires crackling in the night. The scars of their recent past remained, but there was also a newfound hope, a promise of a better tomorrow. And in that moment, as they gazed up at the vast expanse of the galaxy, Marcus knew they were not just rebuilding a settlement. They were building a future, one that would honor the resilience of Earth and the spirit of humanity. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by a common purpose and the unbreakable bond that had formed in the heart of chaos. The journey had only just begun, but they were ready to face it together. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. With every sunrise, the joint efforts of humans and Calthurans painted a new picture of resilience across the ravaged landscape. They were not merely mending broken homes, they were crafting a legacy of collaboration, a testament to the strength of unity against adversity. As the settlement took shape, Marcus and Grix stood at the forefront of this transformation. The two had grown to respect each other's strengths, their differences becoming a source of creativity rather than division. Each day, they engaged in conversations about culture, technology, and history, both finding common ground in their shared experiences of loss and hope. One day, while they were surveying the progress of the newly constructed shelters, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. The Calthurans had established a communication link with their home planet, and the engineers had begun to share information about Earth's volatile nature. This exchange was crucial, but it also stirred unease in Marcus. Would the Calthurans see Earth merely as a resource-rich planet once again, or had their perceptions truly shifted? "Grix, do you think your people will ever truly accept Earth as more than just a resource?" Marcus asked, his tone serious as they stood near the smoldering remnants of the lava fields. Grix pondered the question, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun. "It will take time, Marcus, but the more we work together, the more they will see Earth as a living entity, not just a collection of resources." The eruption opened their eyes to its power and to your resilience. We Calthurans have much to learn. As the days passed, reports of other settlements in distress began to trickle in. The Calthurans had sent out drones to assess the wider impact of the eruption, discovering that other human communities had suffered similar fates, caught off guard by the chain reactions of nature's fury. "We need to respond," Grix said during one meeting, urgency radiating from his presence. "We can't leave them to fend for themselves. This isn't just about rebuilding here, it's about healing our world." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. "I agree. We should gather supplies and aid those in need. We've built something here, it's time to share it." With a plan in place, the newly formed alliance mobilized. They pooled resources, combining Calthuran technology with human ingenuity. Drones designed to carry medical supplies and food were sent out, along with teams of volunteers ready to lend a hand. As they traveled to the affected areas, Marcus felt a sense of purpose like never before. He and Tommy led a convoy of Calthuran vehicles, the shimmering crafts cutting through the air with an almost ethereal grace. Behind them, a team of human volunteers filled the transports with supplies, food, medicine, tools ready to restore hope in places that had been forgotten. During their journey, they encountered desolate landscapes, communities struggling to survive. The devastation was sobering. Houses lay in ruins, and the remnants of lives once vibrant were now mere echoes in the ashes. Yet, even in the shadows of despair, Marcus found pockets of resilience. People banded together, sharing resources and providing comfort to one another. When they reached the first settlement, the contrast was stark. The Calthurans descended with their technology, creating temporary shelters and organizing aid distribution. But it was the humans, led by Marcus and Tommy, who reached out to the survivors, connecting on a personal level, lending understanding and compassion. "We're here to help," Marcus told the weary residents as they gathered around. "We've been through this too, and we'll make it through together." The survivors hesitated, uncertainty etched on their faces. But slowly, as supplies were handed out and assistance offered, their apprehension began to fade. They saw not just the advanced Caltherans, but also familiar faces, humans who understood their plight. Days turned into weeks, and the joint efforts began to bear fruit. New structures rose from the ashes, each built with care and cooperation. The survivors found strength in their shared struggles, and the bond between humans and Caltherans deepened. Yet, amid the progress, whispers of dissent lingered. Some humans remained skeptical of the Caltherans' intentions, fearing that their advanced technology would ultimately lead to exploitation. Rumors spread of those who wanted to drive the Caltherans away, believing they were still a threat. One evening, Marcus gathered the community leaders, both human and Caltheran, to discuss the growing unrest. The dimly lit room buzzed with tension as the two sides faced each other, their shared purpose at stake. "Things are changing," Marcus began, his voice steady. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. The Caltherans are here to help, and we've proven that together we can achieve more than we ever could alone." "But how do we know this isn't just a temporary alliance?" a human leader challenged, arms crossed defensively. "What happens when the threat subsides? Will they just take what they need and leave us behind?" Grix, sitting at the table with an air of calm authority, responded, "We are not like the conquerors of your history. We seek to learn, to understand. Our survival now hinges on our cooperation. We have seen your strength, and we have much to gain from you." Marcus nodded in agreement. "This isn't about power, it's about partnership. We are all stewards of this planet. We must stand united against the real threats we face, whether they come from nature or elsewhere." The room fell silent as the leaders considered his words. Slowly, a human leader spoke up. "If we can forge a path forward, then I'll stand with you." Encouraged, others echoed his sentiment, and the atmosphere shifted from skepticism to tentative optimism. They had a chance to reshape their destinies, but it required trust, courage, and an unwavering commitment to one another. As they moved forward, the threat of nature's wrath was ever present, but the fear of the unknown was slowly giving way to hope. They had established a network of support, allowing them to respond quickly to any emerging crises. Caltheran technology blended seamlessly with human resourcefulness, creating a synergy that neither could have achieved alone. Then, one day, just as the community felt a sense of normalcy returning, new reports arrived of an impending storm, one fueled by the shifting energy patterns of the Earth's core. It was a tempest that threatened to unleash chaos upon the already fragile landscape. "We can't afford to wait," Marcus urged during an emergency meeting. "We have to act now, reinforce our shelters, and prepare for the worst." "We've faced challenges before," Grix added, a steely determination in his gaze. "This storm may be unlike anything we've encountered, but together, we can withstand it." As the community rallied, Marcus felt a surge of pride in the faces around him, humans and Caltherans united in purpose. They had come a long way since that fateful eruption, transforming fear into resilience, suspicion into trust. Hours turned into a blur as they fortified structures, gathered supplies, and ensured everyone was accounted for. The storm loomed on the horizon, a dark reminder of the Earth's unpredictable nature, but they stood ready. When the storm finally hit, it was a ferocious beast. Winds howled, tearing at the makeshift structures, and rain fell in torrents. But as the tempest raged, something remarkable happened. Inside the shelters, Marcus witnessed the embodiment of unity. Caltherans and humans worked side by side, offering comfort to one another. They shared stories, laughter, and fears, creating bonds that would last beyond the storm. "We've got this," Tommy shouted over the howling winds, a defiant grin on his face. "We're stronger than any storm." And as they braced against the elements, Marcus realized that their true strength lay not just in their ability to withstand the storm, but in the connections they had forged. They were no longer just humans and Caltherans, they were a family. After what felt like an eternity, the storm began to wane. Exhausted but determined, they emerged to assess the damage. The landscape had been reshaped once more, but as they surveyed the area, they found hope amid the wreckage. Together, they began the work of restoration, their shared purpose shining brighter than ever. The storm had tested their resolve, but it had also solidified their bonds, transforming their alliance into something that would endure. In the months that followed, Marcus often reflected on their journey. They had faced adversity from within and without, but through every challenge, they emerged stronger, more united. The Caltherans, once viewed as invaders, were now allies in a shared mission to protect the planet they all called home. Standing atop the rise overlooking the settlement, Marcus felt the heartbeat of the earth beneath him. It was a reminder of the lessons they had learned, the need to respect and protect this world. Together, they were no longer just stewards, they were guardians of Earth. As Grix joined him, a look of determination on his face, Marcus knew their journey was far from over. "What comes next?" Grix asked, his voice filled with anticipation. "We keep building," Marcus replied, a smile spreading across his face. "We create a future where all life is valued, where we learn from each other." And in that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they understood that they were part of something greater, a legacy forged in the crucible of adversity, a testament to the enduring spirit of both humanity and Calthera. The months turned into years, and the landscape around the settlement transformed from a battlefield of ashes and debris into a vibrant testament of resilience and cooperation. Green shoots of life peeked through the charred earth, and where once there had been devastation, now stood sturdy homes and thriving community gardens. Marcus watched as the community flourished, a bustling hub of activity. Children played in the streets, their laughter mingling with the sounds of Caltheran technology humming as it worked alongside human innovation. The settlement had become a place of learning, where cultures intermingled and ideas blossomed. Grix had established a school of sorts, where Caltheran scientists shared knowledge about advanced engineering, while human leaders taught the importance of understanding nature's rhythms. Together, they explored everything from sustainable agriculture to disaster preparedness, ensuring that the scars of the past would inform their future. One day, as Marcus walked through the garden, he spotted Tommy demonstrating a new irrigation system to a group of curious children. The gleaming Caltheran technology was now used to enhance the land rather than exploit it, a vivid example of their shared values. "Look, see how the water flows?" Tommy explained, gesturing animatedly. "It's like creating a lifeline for the plants. With Grix's help, we can make sure our crops grow strong and healthy." Watching the joy on the children's faces, Marcus felt a swell of pride. It was a world reborn, where every child learned not just the science of survival, but also the importance of stewardship, a legacy that combined both human wisdom and Caltheran innovation. However, as the settlement thrived, whispers of a new threat began to circulate. The Caltheran Council had reported strange energy readings from the planet's core, a potential indication of further volcanic activity. Some began to fear that their efforts could be undone, and old doubts resurfaced among the humans. "We've made so much progress," Marcus said during a community meeting, looking around at the gathered faces. "We can't let fear drive us apart. We've faced storms and eruptions together, and we will face this, too." "But what if we're wrong?" a human leader interjected, her brow furrowed. "What if we can't stop what's coming?" Grix stood, his presence commanding silence. "Earth is a living entity, unpredictable and powerful, but we are not helpless. Together, we possess knowledge and strength. If we act, we can mitigate the risks. We've learned to listen to her voice, and we must prepare." The room buzzed with uncertainty, but Marcus could see glimmers of hope as well. "Let's work together to study these readings. We can set up monitoring systems, use Caltheran technology to predict changes. If we collaborate, we can protect our home." Gradually, the tension eased, and a plan emerged. They organized teams, Caltherans and humans working side by side to analyze the energy fluctuations and strengthen their settlement against potential threats. Days turned into weeks as they collected data, poring over readings, establishing communication with Calthara to share their findings. It was a meticulous process, but through it, bonds grew stronger. They developed a shared language that combined both Caltheran efficiency and human creativity, creating solutions that neither could have achieved alone. Then one fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the ground began to tremble. A low rumble resonated beneath their feet, shaking the very foundations of their settlement. "Get to safety," Marcus shouted, rushing to guide the children and families to the designated shelters. Grix was already coordinating the Caltheran technology to stabilize structures, but the quakes intensified, each tremor a reminder of the Earth's raw power. The shaking subsided, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. The air hung heavy with tension as they gathered in the emergency meeting hall, anxious faces illuminated by flickering lights. "Reports are coming in," Grix stated, his voice calm despite the chaos. "We've detected a shift in the tectonic plates, and there's a high probability of volcanic activity." "What do we do?" a human leader asked, worry etched across his features. "We implement our emergency protocols," Marcus replied, his voice steady. "We have built this community to withstand challenges. We need to evacuate those at risk and fortify the settlements closest to the epicenter." They set to work immediately, Caltheran technology becoming a crucial part of their plan. Drones were deployed to assess damage and deliver supplies, while teams prepared to evacuate families from the most vulnerable areas. In the ensuing chaos, Marcus found himself coordinating alongside Grix, their partnership forged in the heat of earlier battles, now a beacon of hope for their community. They moved with purpose, their shared commitment evident as they ensured the safety of everyone. "Marcus," Grix called out, urgency in his voice. "We have a report of fissures opening near the southern edge. We need to divert our resources there immediately." "Let's go," Marcus shouted back, adrenaline coursing through him as they raced towards the danger. Upon arrival, they found a scene of turmoil. The earth had cracked open, spewing steam and ash. The Caltherans worked swiftly, using advanced technology to create barriers to contain the eruptions while humans evacuated those in danger. "Over there," Marcus pointed to a family trapped by the encroaching fissures. Without a second thought, he sprinted towards them, his heart pounding as the ground trembled beneath his feet. Grix followed closely, ready to assist. "Stay calm. We're here to help," Marcus yelled as he reached the family. He quickly assessed the situation and realized they needed to move fast. "We'll get you to safety." Just as they turned to lead them away, a deafening roar erupted from the ground. A geyser of lava shot into the air, sending a wave of heat that forced them back. "Move," Grix shouted, his voice a rallying cry as he activated his suit's shielding, encasing Marcus and the family in a protective barrier. They sprinted away from the chaos, the earth still shaking beneath their feet. The team worked tirelessly, their bond strengthening under the pressure of the crisis. One by one, they brought families to safety, battling the chaos with unwavering determination. As night fell, the world outside glowed with the eerie light of the eruptions. The settlements, once teeming with life, now stood vulnerable under the threat of the planet's wrath. Yet, amid the fear, Marcus saw the resilience that had defined their journey. "Gather everyone," he shouted to the Caltherans and humans who remained. "We need to work together to create safe zones. Let's build barriers and use whatever resources we have left." Grix nodded, already relaying orders to his team. The Caltherans responded with their technology, while the humans utilized their ingenuity and experience. It was a chaotic ballet of cooperation, their individual strengths merging into a unified force. In the heart of the storm, Marcus found hope. They were no longer just humans and Caltherans, they were a community, fighting for survival against the very forces that threatened to tear them apart. And when dawn finally broke, illuminating the devastation left in the wake of the eruption, they stood together, a testament to their resilience. The landscape was scarred, but it was not broken. As they began to rebuild once more, Marcus understood that their journey had only just begun. They would rise from the ashes, united by their experiences and the lessons they had learned. Earth was a living entity, beautiful and dangerous, and they would face its challenges together, stronger than ever before. The true power of humanity and Kalthara lay not in their technology or strength, but in their ability to unite against adversity, to find hope amid chaos, and to forge a future where all life was cherished. And as the sun rose over the horizon, it illuminated not just the land, but the spirit of cooperation that would guide them forward, through whatever challenges lay ahead. The days following the eruption were filled with a mix of devastation and determination. The landscape bore the scars of volcanic fury, with fissures cutting through once thriving fields, and ash blanketing the settlement like a mourning shroud. However, the spirit of resilience burned brightly among the people, igniting a resolve to rebuild and grow stronger. Marcus, with Grix by his side, became a beacon of hope in the aftermath. They led the community in assessing the damage, formulating plans to fortify their homes, and implementing new strategies to monitor Earth's geological activity. As they gathered at the community center, the atmosphere buzzed with purpose. "We can't ignore what just happened," Marcus addressed the group, his voice steady. "We need to learn from this and prepare for whatever comes next. Earth is alive, and we have to respect her power." Grix nodded, his eyes reflecting the determination of their shared mission. "Our technology can help us understand these geological patterns. If we combine our efforts, we can develop a comprehensive system to monitor potential threats." Tommy, now a young leader within the community, stepped forward. "What about the crops? The fields are damaged, and we need to ensure food security." "Agreed," Marcus replied. "We can adapt our agricultural techniques to the new environment. We've learned from the Kalthurans how to create sustainable systems. Let's apply those lessons here." As the community set to work, Marcus and Grix made rounds to encourage collaboration between Kalthurans and humans. They facilitated workshops where knowledge flowed freely. Farmers learned about advanced irrigation, and scientists gained insights into organic farming practices. Despite the adversity, the community began to flourish again. New green shoots began to emerge from the charred earth, defying the odds. Together, they cultivated a patchwork of crops that incorporated Kalthuran techniques and traditional human methods, creating a hybrid system that thrived under the watchful eyes of both races. However, as they rebuilt, whispers of a larger crisis began to surface. Reports from Kalthara indicated an impending galactic summit involving multiple alien civilizations, with discussions on the implications of Earth's resources and the potential for further exploitation. The Kalthurans, who had once viewed Earth as a mere outpost, were now aware of its true potential, and so were other races. "We can't let them think of Earth as a mere resource," Marcus warned during another community meeting. "We need to show them what we've built here and how far we've come together. This is more than just land, it's a living world filled with potential." Grix chimed in. "If we are to make our case to the galaxy, we must present a united front. Our cultures have combined, and we have created something unique. We need to demonstrate that Earth is more than a target for exploitation. It's a thriving community." With the summit approaching, the urgency to prepare intensified. The settlement transformed into a hub of activity as they rehearsed presentations and set up displays to showcase their accomplishments. They constructed a central pavilion that exhibited their sustainable practices, innovations in agriculture, and collaborative projects. The day of the summit arrived, and representatives from various alien races descended upon Earth. Their ships filled the sky, a tapestry of colors and technologies, each more impressive than the last. As they landed, Marcus felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. This was not just a diplomatic meeting. It was a defining moment for Earth and its inhabitants. The alien leaders gathered at the pavilion, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. As Marcus stood before them, flanked by Grix and Tommy, he took a deep breath, his heart racing. This was their chance to demonstrate humanity's resilience and strength. "Welcome to Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "You've come to witness a world reborn, a place where different races have united in the face of adversity. Here, we have created a thriving community that respects the planet and embraces collaboration." He gestured towards the displays, showcasing their agricultural advancements and sustainable technologies. What you see here is not just the result of human ingenuity or Caltheran technology. It's a testament to what we can achieve together. Earth is more than resources. It's a home that deserves protection and respect. As he spoke, Marcus saw a range of reactions from the alien delegates. Some listened intently, while others appeared unconvinced. He pressed on, sharing stories of their struggles and triumphs, the lessons learned from the volcanic eruptions, the bonds forged between Caltherans and humans, and the community that had risen from the ashes. When Marcus finished, he stepped back, his heart pounding. Grix took his place, his demeanor calm and authoritative. As a representative of the Caltherans, I can assure you that our intentions have changed. We recognize the true value of this planet and its inhabitants. We seek not to exploit, but to partner in progress. The murmurs among the delegates grew louder. A leader from a race called the Drakari stepped forward, his scales shimmering in the light. Your words are compelling, but actions speak louder than promises. How can we trust that this collaboration is genuine? Tommy stepped up, his youthful confidence radiating. Let us show you. We invite you to participate in a project, to engage in joint efforts that benefit both our people. We want to prove that together we can create something greater than any of us could achieve alone. With that invitation, the atmosphere shifted. The alien leaders began to discuss among themselves, intrigued by the proposal. The potential for collaboration sparked excitement, and soon they began to outline plans for joint ventures that could enhance both their technologies and their understanding of Earth. Days turned into weeks as the summit progressed, fostering dialogue between the species. They explored possibilities for shared scientific research, sustainable energy projects, and cultural exchanges that would strengthen their bonds. The Caltherans showcased their advanced understanding of energy harnessing, while humans introduced the concept of ethical resource management. But as discussions flourished, Marcus sensed an undercurrent of tension among some factions. Not all alien races were as eager to embrace the notion of partnership. There were whispers of dissent, of factions that still saw Earth as an untapped resource, ripe for exploitation. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the settlement, Marcus and Grix convened with the leaders of their community. We must remain vigilant, Grix warned, his expression serious. Not all will agree with our vision. We must be prepared to defend our stance. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility upon his shoulders. We've come too far to let old prejudices divide us now. We need to establish protocols that protect our interests and ensure that any partnerships benefit both sides. As the discussions continued, the energy shifted. Earth was on the brink of a new chapter, but the stakes had never been higher. They needed to show the galaxy that humanity and Calthara were not just capable of survival, they were capable of thriving together. And so, with determination ignited in their hearts, Marcus, Grix, and Tommy led their community into the final phase of their journey, a journey that would test their resolve, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately define the future of Earth and its place among the stars. As the summit unfolded, tensions simmered beneath the surface. While most delegates embraced the idea of partnership and cooperation, a faction led by the Zarkan race stood against it. The Zarkans, known for their ruthless pragmatism and desire for domination, viewed Earth's resources as ripe for the taking. In the corridors of the pavilion, whispers of dissent grew louder. Delegates from various races exchanged glances, uncertain of which side to support. The fragile alliance that had begun to take shape was now under threat from those who still believed in conquest over collaboration. One evening, Marcus, Grix, and Tommy gathered in their makeshift war room. Maps and data from the summit covered the table, with notes highlighting the progress they had made and the challenges that lay ahead. We can't ignore the Zarkans, Tommy said, his youthful face serious. If we don't act, they might try to sabotage everything we've built. Grix nodded, his features hardening. We need to gather intelligence on their movements. If they plan to undermine our efforts, we must be ready to counteract them. Marcus felt the weight of their situation pressing down on him. We can't afford to be reactive. We need to show strength, but also unity. We should invite representatives from other races to join us in a demonstration of our capabilities. If we present a united front, it might deter the Zarkans from any hostile actions. With a plan in place, the trio set about organizing a large-scale event to showcase the strength of their alliance. They proposed a series of joint exercises demonstrating Earth's resilience and the technological advancements shared between Calthurans and humans. It would be a display of cooperation that would send a strong message to the Zarkans and any other dissenters. As the day of the demonstration approached, excitement buzzed through the community. Teams worked tirelessly to prepare, setting up equipment and ensuring everything was in place. They had invited representatives from multiple alien races to witness the event, creating a sense of anticipation and camaraderie. The day arrived, bright and clear, and the atmosphere crackled with energy. Marcus stood at the forefront, flanked by Grix and Tame, addressing the assembled crowd of delegates and spectators. Today, we demonstrate not just our capabilities, but our commitment to a united future. Together, we can achieve more than any one race could alone. The demonstration began with a display of agricultural techniques. Farmers showcased their hybrid methods combining Calthuran technology with traditional human practices. The results were impressive. Rows of healthy crops shimmered in the sunlight, a testament to their hard work and collaboration. Next came the technological showcase. Grix led a team of Calthurans in demonstrating their energy-harnessing technology, a system designed to utilize Earth's natural resources sustainably. As beams of energy arced through the air, delegates watched in awe, murmurs of admiration rippling through the crowd. But it was the final act that would cement their alliance in the eyes of all present. Marcus had organized a rescue simulation that combined both human and Calthuran tactics. The scenario involved an artificial eruption complete with smoke and chaos, requiring a coordinated response from both races. As the simulation unfolded, Grix and Marcus led their teams through the exercise, showcasing their training and the seamless integration of their techniques. They communicated effortlessly, working as one unit to rescue simulated victims and control the foe disaster. The success of the exercise was palpable, and cheers erupted from the gathered spectators. But amid the applause, Marcus remained vigilant. He noticed a group of Zarkan delegates lingering at the edges of the crowd, their expressions cold and calculating. The Zarkans watched closely, plotting their next move, and Marcus knew they wouldn't stay passive for long. Later that evening, as celebrations began, Grix pulled Marcus aside. "We need to be cautious. The Zarkans are not here to celebrate, they're watching us. We should establish a security perimeter around the community." "Agreed," Marcus replied, his thoughts racing. "But we can't let fear dictate our actions. We need to continue building our partnerships. If we show that we won't be intimidated, it might discourage them from acting." As they strategized, Tame approached, excitement radiating from him. "Everyone is buzzing about the demonstration. It's incredible how far we've come together." Before Marcus could respond, an explosion echoed in the distance, followed by a wave of panic rippling through the crowd. The ground shook beneath their feet as dust and debris erupted from the nearby hills. The Zarkans had made their move. "Stay together," Marcus shouted, his heart racing. "Grix, we need to assess the situation." As they rushed toward the source of the explosion, chaos erupted around them. Calthurans and humans scrambled to secure the area, and Marcus could hear distant screams echoing through the air. The Zarkans had initiated a direct attack, seeking to undermine the alliance by inciting fear. They reached the epicenter, where a group of Zarkan soldiers stood defiantly, weapons raised, surveying the damage. It was clear they had intended to disrupt the demonstration and incite conflict among the races. "Grix, get the Calthurans to secure a perimeter," Marcus ordered. "I'll coordinate with our firefighters to manage the aftermath and get everyone to safety." As Grix moved to execute the plan, Marcus turned back to the chaos, taking a deep breath. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, but in that moment, clarity washed over him. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for their future. With adrenaline surging through him, Marcus rallied the human firefighters. "We're not going to let them take our home. We fight for every inch of this land." The team responded with fierce determination, their training kicking in. They worked quickly to control the flames and evacuate civilians from the area. Together, they fought against the encroaching chaos, forming a united front against the Zarkan aggressors. As the battle escalated, Grix coordinated with his fellow Caltherans, using their advanced technology to counteract the Zarkan assault. The air filled with the sounds of energy blasts and the roar of flames, a chaotic symphony of conflict. But amid the chaos, Marcus spotted a familiar figure, Tame, darting through the debris, helping civilians escape the danger. A sense of pride swelled within him. This wasn't just a battle for survival, it was a testament to the resilience and courage that had blossomed within their community. "Keep moving," Marcus shouted, guiding people to safety. "We have to protect our home." Just as the tide of the battle seemed to shift in their favor, a sudden explosion rocked the area, knocking Marcus off his feet. Dazed, he struggled to rise, scanning for Grix and Tame. "Marcus," Grix's voice cut through the din, urgency lacing his tone. "We need to regroup. They're launching a full-scale attack." Gripping his weapon tightly, Marcus pushed through the haze of smoke, determination driving him forward. He could not let fear overtake them. They had come too far to back down now. "Get to the main square," he yelled, rallying the remaining fighters. "We need to hold our ground and protect our people." The battle raged on, a clash of ideologies and wills. But deep within Marcus, a fire burned brighter than any of the chaos around him. They were not just fighting against the Zarkans, they were fighting for their future, for the alliance that had begun to take root on this vibrant, resilient planet. And with that conviction fueling him, Marcus steeled himself for the fight ahead, ready to stand against whatever darkness sought to tear them apart. As the battle intensified, Marcus felt the weight of every decision pressing down on him. The Zarkan forces surged forward, their weapons slicing through the air, determined to instigate chaos. But Marcus knew that this was their moment to stand united, to show that humanity and their newfound allies would not yield. "Regroup at the fountain," Marcus shouted, waving his arm to rally his fellow firefighters and Caltherans. The main square offered a strategic advantage, providing a defensible position. He could see Grix coordinating a defensive line, his features grim but resolute. The air crackled with energy as Caltheran weapons fired in synchronized bursts, illuminating the dimming light of day. The humans, armed with their fire hoses and improvised gear, worked in tandem, extinguishing the fires ignited by the Zarkan assaults and shielding civilians as they evacuated. "Tame," Marcus yelled, spotting the young firefighter helping an injured civilian. "Get her to safety." Tame nodded, his face set with determination, and helped the woman hobble away from the chaos. Marcus felt a swell of pride mixed with fear. He couldn't lose anyone today. As they reached the fountain, Marcus and Grix exchanged quick glances. The fountain stood tall, a symbol of unity that had drawn them all together. "We hold this position," Grix said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We cannot let them push us back." Marcus nodded, adrenaline surging through him. "Let's show them what we're made of." He raised his voice, addressing the gathered fighters. "This is our home. We will protect it with everything we have." With that rallying cry, the team sprang into action. Caltherans and humans worked seamlessly, using a combination of technology and sheer determination. As the Zarkans charged, a fierce wave of energy blasts met them head-on, the impact reverberating through the square. Marcus joined the fray, wielding a fire hose like a weapon, using it to direct streams of water to extinguish flames and push back the advancing forces. His muscles strained with effort, but he pressed on, fueled by the vision of a future where Earth could thrive alongside its allies. Amid the clash of wills, the tide began to turn. The Zarkans, taken aback by the coordinated response, faltered. Grix unleashed a volley of energy blasts that struck down the front line, while Marcus led a group of firefighters to flank the Zarkans, catching them off guard. But just as victory seemed within reach, a loud crack echoed above them. Looking up, Marcus's heart dropped as he saw a Zarkan ship descending from the sky, its hull gleaming ominously. It hovered overhead, deploying more troops and weapons. "They're not backing down," Grix shouted, urgency evident in his tone. "We need to take that ship out." "Can your technology disable it?" Marcus asked, his mind racing for a solution. "Perhaps," Grix replied, his brow furrowed. "But we'll need a concentrated attack to breach its defenses." Marcus thought quickly. "We can't let them regroup. If we strike hard and fast, we might catch them off guard. Everyone, focus on that ship." The fighters rallied around Marcus's command, readying their weapons and preparing for a final push. As the Zarkans poured into the square, Marcus steeled himself, his eyes locked on the ship looming above. "On my mark," he shouted, feeling the weight of responsibility and hope in that moment. 3, 2, 1, now. As they unleashed a volley of fire and energy, a spectacular explosion erupted from the Zarkan ship. The air crackled with energy, flames licking at the edges of the square. Marcus felt the force of the blast as the ship staggered, smoke billowing from its hull. The Zarkans faltered, their advance halted by the unexpected turn of events. It was the break they needed. "Push forward," Marcus commanded, leading the charge. They surged into the fray, determination and adrenaline driving them. The fighters pressed on, overwhelming the Zarkan forces with renewed vigor. One by one, they fell back, confusion and fear spreading through their ranks. Grix's team utilized their advanced tech, coordinating strikes that disoriented the enemy. The tide had turned. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus caught sight of Tame, still helping civilians evacuate. "Get everyone to the other side of the fountain," he shouted, making sure his friend was safe before returning to the fight. The strength of their bond fueled his determination to protect not just their home, but the future they were building together. Finally, as the last of the Zarkan soldiers retreated, the remaining delegates of the various races erupted in cheers. The sound of victory filled the air, but Marcus felt a swell of mixed emotions, relief and pride mingled with the lingering tension of what could have been. Amid the celebration, Grix approached, a weary smile on his face. "You led us well, Marcus. Your people are strong." Marcus nodded, looking around at the devastation and the resilient faces of his allies. "We did this together. It wasn't just me." As the dust settled, the delegates reconvened, discussions already brewing about how to solidify the alliances forged in the heat of battle. Marcus and Grix stood side by side, watching the coalition forming before them, feeling the weight of a new beginning. "Today was only the start," Grix said, a sense of determination in his tone. "If we can overcome such adversity together, imagine what we can achieve in the future." Marcus nodded, inspired by the idea. "This is just the beginning. We have to ensure that this alliance is more than just words. We have to build trust, cooperation, and a shared vision." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the community, Marcus felt a renewed sense of hope. The battle had been fierce, but it had also revealed the strength and resilience of humanity and their allies. "We're not just protecting Earth anymore," Marcus said, looking up at the stars beginning to twinkle overhead. "We're creating a future." With that thought lingering in his mind, Marcus knew that they would face challenges ahead. But for the first time, he truly believed that they would overcome them, united as one, a coalition ready to forge a new path in the galaxy, proving that Earth was not a tame planet, but one that breathed fire when threatened, ready to stand tall against any adversity. And as they prepared for the next chapter, they did so with the conviction that they were stronger together than apart, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them. For Omini.